My name is Abegail Otero, and I'm a user experience designer. Last month, I talked about just user experience design and what it is. And then I shared 3 different tools, and I realized that I could have go a lot deeper into one of the tools. So that's what we're going to do today, is talk about UX audits and what you can do to make sure that your product or service is user-friendly. So for today's agenda, I'm going to do a brief intro, talk about myself, the fun part, and then I'm going to get into heuristic evaluations, what that means, as well as give you some examples of what the usability principles are. And then we're going to dive into a workshop where you guys are actually going to practice doing a UX audit on the Dutch Bros app. And the reason why I'm going to do a workshop for this is because if I just tell you about the usability principles, you're not going to really retain that information. It's going to go over your head. But if we do it in workshop style, you're going to wrestle with these principles, you're going to learn what they are, and when you walk out of here today, you're going to be able to actually understand why good design is good and why bad design is terrible. You won't just say, I don't like it, but you'll be able to explain why you don't like it. All right, let's get started. So I'm Abigail, and I'm one of the 6 organizers. Val is here today, who is also one of the organizers. And we have a Las Vegas UX Meetup group. We meet monthly at Tech Alley, but we also have groups where we co-work together, talk about what we're working on, and do portfolio views. So definitely join our LinkedIn group, connect with us, and see what we're up to. A little bit about me. I guess you could say that I'm a creative design consultant as of right now. I am a designer, and I've been doing it for 15 years, so half of my life. And I've gone from doing print design, advertising, marketing, a little bit of UX design, apps, hardware, software. And the most recent thing that I've gotten into was I worked for Omnicell, which is a health tech company that produces these automated dispensing cabinets. And what those do is help nurses, this is my cousin who uses our software, which is cool, help them get their controlled substances for their patients in the right dose, for the right patient at the right time. And I've since walked away from that position. Oh, here are some screens of what the legacy software looks like, and some of my designs to help make it look more user-friendly and updated, as well as streamline their actual workflows. And I pivoted to starting value-driven careers with my husband. What we are doing is coaching software engineers. We're starting with software engineers, but this is going to grow to those who are in the tech industry who are looking for career coaching. So if you are a software engineer and you're looking to grow to find promotions or new opportunities, definitely connect with us. And I'm venturing into content creation, so shameless plug, follow us on Instagram and see what I'm getting into to exercise that creative muscle. But enough about me. Let's get into the heuristic evaluations. So what is a heuristic? And what I do is look into ChatGPT and ask it to explain like I'm 5 or a 5th grader. And a heuristic is a simple rule of thumb or shortcut that helps people make decisions or problems quickly without having to think too hard. And so I was thinking about how can I explain what a heuristic is in simple terms? And an example that came up into my mind is this rule of thumb that we have. I don't know how many Filipinos or Asians are in this house or in this room, but in my house, we have a rule of thumb, or rather a rule of middle finger, where this line helps you to figure out how much rice to water ratio you need. And there's no scientific calculations. It's literally this line, and you put it into the rice cooker, and the top of your finger and the line here, that's how much water you need. And it's I don't know why this works, but it's a super easy way for me to measure what I need to do to have perfect rice every time. So now when you think about heuristics, you can think, oh, it's just a simple rule of thumb. Another one that I can think of off the top of my head is, I don't know if other women do this, but when I'm at Costco, I don't want to try on clothes, or if I'm trying on like pants, there's no fitting room there. So what do? I get the pieces, like the pants that I'm interested in, and I take it and I wrap it around my neck. And usually, if it fits around the neck, then it's gonna fit around my waist. I don't know what's the science behind that, but that's the rule of thumb that I use. And so that's another way of explaining what a heuristic is. It's just something that's simple, it's quick and easy to figure out how to solve problems without thinking too hard. So how does that relate to a heuristic evaluation? In simple terms, a heuristic evaluation is a UX audit, and it's a hands-on way to make sure that your app or product is user-friendly. It's quick and dirty, and you don't have to be an expert at UX in order to learn those principles. So I'm going to talk about the 10 usability principles according to Jacob Nielsen. And if you guys don't know who that is, Jacob Nielsen and Don Norman, they're the quote-unquote fathers of UX. And so they created Nielsen-Norman Group, which is where you get the standards of user experience principles. And today I'm going to talk about these kind of like 10 guidelines. I'm glad that the QR code works, but I'm not going to explain the 10 that are here right now. I've actually dumbed it down so that it's a lot easier. But I encourage you to scan this QR code because this PDF actually explains to you. It's a download of the PDF that I'm showing here. I know that it's really tiny. So if you scan that QR code, then you should be able to follow along as I describe the different principles here. I see people still scanning. All right, I'll move on. Oh, I heard no, not yet. There's also QR codes in the corners if the ones on the main screen doesn't work. While you guys are scanning, just to read some of them: match between system and the real world, user control and freedom. And the way that the Nielsen-Norman Group kind of writes these out is super technical jargon, and I think it's hard to understand. So I took them and reframed them into questions and have some examples to share with you guys. So the first one, visibility of system status. Do users know what's going on at all times? So the example that I have here is a "You Are Here" sign when you're at the mall, and what that does is help users, one, understand where they are, and two, locate the store that they're going to. So does your app or website help the users understand where they are and where they want to go? An example of this online might be breadcrumbs, where you can see the different paths, and then you could click into the breadcrumbs to understand how to get back. Number two, match between the system and the real world. Does your product use words and ideas that people understand, or just ones that make sense to you? So an example that I have here is the top is an ATM machine pin pad, and then the bottom is the iPhone pin pad, and so, or for the telephone, excuse me. But I don't know if you guys can notice the little difference, spot the difference between the two. In the last UX Meetup, someone actually pointed it out. QZ? Yes, the QZ is actually at the top left rather than, QZ is in number 1 for the ATM, but the QZ is on number 9. So that actually is an inconsistency that might trip up your users who are used to QZ being number 1. So that's just an example. Another example of this one is your, what's it called? Your stovetop. So your stovetop has 4 burners, right? And sometimes you have your plugs that are 4 in a row horizontally. You don't know which burner that you're working with, but when you actually look at the knobs that are telling you which burner to go, there's usually an icon that's like 4 different icons, and the one that you're trying to turn on has it filled in. So that's your indicator. And I think that's a good example of match between the real world and the system, is using icons so that users can identify quickly where they need to go. All right, the third one is, can people quickly fix mistakes or go back if they mess up? Let me ask you guys this question. What's the universal way to undo an action?
Control-Z. Command-Z.
Yes. So that's just one perfect example of, does your app or service have a Command-Z function or a way that they can keep editing or undo the changes that they made? Feel free to stop and ask questions if I'm going too fast. Number 4, consistency and standards. Do things always look and work the same way so people don't get confused? So let me ask you this question. If I am on a website or an app, where would I go to go back to the previous page? Where would you find that button?
Top left. Depends on the
Top
phone.
left. Trick question, yes. Depends on the side of the phone. But usually, universally, you're going to find your back buttons on the top left. Now, if I were, on Pinterest and trying to figure out a recipe that I want to cook, and then a stupid pop-up comes up on the screen, and I just want to exit out of that pop-up, where am I going to go? Top right. So does your app or website have easy functions where the patterns are in recognizable places based on things that they've experienced before? And I actually did, I violated this principle before. So I showed you screens of that antiquated software, and what I noticed in my usability testing is that nurses were getting really frustrated because with our new software, as we were doing testing, they kept clicking the bottom right and it canceled their transaction. They're like, why the heck is this canceling the transaction? And I was like, well, it clearly says to cancel. They're like, yeah, but in the software that we use, that we've been using for 30 years, that was our sign out button. So you're kind of disrupting what we're already used to. And what I noticed, because it's a hardware and software product, these users weren't even looking at the screen. They would anticipate that they would click this button before they even knew what it was actually supposed to do. So just be aware of muscle memory. All right, number 5, error prevention. Can we stop mistakes before they happen and help people fix them easily? So the example of this one is when you're shopping online and giving the ability to the user, let's say that they chose a different item or the incorrect item that they wanted to purchase, or they needed to update their billing address or payment, things like that. You want to make sure that the user is able to review their order or you review their action before they actually commit to it. That way there's no mistakes and you don't have frustrated users because they didn't have a way to, change the pant size that they were trying to buy. Number 6, recognition rather than recall. How can we make sure people don't have to remember too much when using our website or app? So one example of this is your login. Usually a login has the username populated, and that helps the user not have to remember what their username is when they're logging into your app. Another way, I'm going too slow here. Another way that this pops up is icons. When you have a mobile app, it's usually a good idea to have icons as well as the word underneath. That way the user doesn't have to guess what the icon means when you have the text. All right, I'm going to try to blow through the last ones. So the 7th one is, how can my designs help both beginners and experts use it? And this example is emails. A beginner user might, copy paste the same email over and over, but a super user might use automation to send out a mass email to a long email list. Number 8 is, does my design communicate the essentials and cut out the fluff? So this is aesthetic and minimalist design. You can see on the example, it's just showing the time rather than all of the other buttons. Number 9, help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. This is a really good one to look at rather than 404 messages. How can you help the user to understand what mistake that they made and then recover from that mistake? And then number 10, does my design provide clear and easy to find instructions? So your tool tips, your onboarding experience. And I'm gonna skip to the actual part to give it a try. And I know that I don't have enough time to actually do this fun part with you guys, but I'm going to have it as homework so you can give it a try on your own. I realized at the other...
Abigail, go ahead and do it. Go ahead
Yeah?
and do it. Go ahead.
All right, we're doing it. All right, we're going to get into the fun part then. So ready to give it a try? I'm going to give you the 3 steps of what we're going to do before we actually get into the workshop part. So the first step is that you're going to find a partner. It's going to be someone who's either at your table or try to get out of your comfort zone and get up and talk to someone else. And if you're a designer in this room, I encourage you to partner with a non-designer. That way you have fruitful conversation. And then the first actual step is to identify and map out the task that you want to evaluate. So typically it would be like your main workflow in your app, but for today we're going to use Dutch Bros as an example because it's a very simple and easy app to understand. And I'm going to have you guys download that app. So the task is, this is just an example. The task for Banana Republic is buying a shirt. So identify, okay, what are the steps to get there? Okay, first I click the menu, et cetera, et cetera. The task at hand for Dutch Bros is order yourself a coffee. So before you get into the actual exercise, make sure you know how to what coffee you want to order, and then we're going to go into analyzing that part. All right. So like I said, I recommend using Dutch Bros for this exercise just because it's a really easy app to look at. So I'm going to let you guys go ahead and download Dutch Bros, whether you have an app or an Android.
Abigail, quick question.
Yeah.
Does their website match their app in terms of you?
No, they don't. So if you have a laptop, I noticed that last time we did this, some users did the website, and the website experience is completely different from mobile.
That's just something curious to this whole topic.
Yeah. Yeah, and so when you're doing, I'm glad that you brought that up, because when you're doing a heuristic evaluation, it's so quick and easy to want to do everything at once, but I really recommend that you pick one user, one workflow, and one modality, whether it's web or mobile. All right. Looks like everyone has it downloaded somewhat. Okay. So I'm going to give you some time to download the app, but once you get there, understand how to figure out the coffee that you're going to be ordering. And then once you have that downloaded and you have your partner, you're then going to start identifying the issues that you find in the app. So you're going to whip out your phone again because there's going to be another thing that you're going to need to download, which is this is the PDF download. So this is a workbook from Nielsen Norman Group, and this is really the meat of the exercise, is downloading this, and the PDF is going to look like this, where it shows you on this side the heuristic that you're working on, questions you might ask, and then the issues that you're writing down. So how this works is, let's go back to our original example of Banana Republic. The issue that they identified here was that this text is overlapping with the shirt, so you can't really read it. So what might be a suggestion to make this more legible? Well, one, you could change the font size or color. 2, you can add a drop shadow. But what you're going to do with this workbook is identify each of the steps to order your coffee, and there might be some things that are like, oh, this wasn't a bad experience. So 1, what's that bad experience? And 2, come up with recommendations of how you can make that experience better for the user. And this is an example. And a tip for this exercise is one person is going to drive the app while the other person has the PDF open. That way you both have the information out there and you guys can take turns. And then the third step is consolidating and prioritizing. Probably not going to get to this step, but it's basically, yes, question?
Oh, can we get the PDF QR?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I've also
All right, I think people have the PDF, but I am going to let you go. The last step is basically prioritizing which ones would be fixes that need to get fixed first versus things that are just cosmetic. But there's probably not enough time for that, so it's okay. All right, so that's my spiel. We're going to get into the breakout session, and then I will kind of bring it back in, and we can talk about the things that we learned. Alrighty, guys, that is going to conclude my session. I hope that you found the workbook super valuable, and I hope that you've actually tried to look through the Dutch Bros app. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for your time, and if you're interested in connecting with me or being part of the UX group, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you for everything.